Yes. Hold on, I'm putting my computer more in front of me. And so I am ready. Hello, everybody. I'm so sorry about the. I always have trouble with WebEx, and now there we are back again. Can you read off the first agenda item? Because well, actually, I can get it up on the screen. But Jennifer, in the meantime, while I'm getting the agenda up, will you read it out?
Sure. So the first agenda item is for 60 Collister and 55 Lake Street, which we reviewed last month. It's for further review of the application to renovate the industrial street canopy to the main building entrance. So here with us tonight, we have Catherine Dean. Give me one moment.
I'm going. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
My understanding, just so everyone knows, is that there's been a public session at the Landmarks Preservation Commission. They seem to not only have agreed with us in terms of the canopy, but they added a concern about the amount of glass on Lake Street. It was Catherine Dean is kind enough to return to us with the revised proposal in response to, well, us and also to the LPC. However, there is no more public hearing. So this is the second applicant recently who is coming back to us as a courtesy to show us the changes, which we appreciate. And I said, please, by all means, do it. But there's no context anymore in which to present to LPC from our side because there's only one public hearing. That being said, please welcome. Hi, Catherine. Are you there?
Catherine, are you there with us? She's muted, and let me unmute her.
Hi,
Catherine. Hi. We can hear you.
Okay. That isn't what happened, Bruce. Actually, what happened is they agreed with you about the canopy. Previous to meeting with you at the community board, or before the second meeting, they asked for less glass, and they agreed with my solution, which was to make the glass panels in the doors narrower. So there were 3 equal wooden conditions, and the glass became narrower, but they agreed with you at the Landmarks Preservation Committee that the canopy needed work.
Okay.
So that's where it was left. So where it was left with the Landmarks Preservation Committee is that I'm supposed to work with LPC staff.
Right. Okay. That's in other words, you're saying that my explanation was wrong in that in regard to the glass and its presentation. Is that it? I don't quite understand where the committee, it's the Landmarks Preservation Commission, we're the Landmarks and Preservation Committee. I'm not quite sure where our committee stands in regard to the process now.
I don't really fully understand either, because they decided to review it, and they decided to review it on Tuesday. So in the review on Tuesday, they agreed with you about the canopy. And so the commissioners agreed with you about that canopy. So the Landmark staff agreed with your concerns with the canopy, and Landmarks commissioners agreed with it as well. So where it was left is I have to work with them relative to reducing the size of it.
I think there's a misunderstanding, and you don't have to come back to us. You're working directly with staff at LPC.
Okay.
That's what Bruce is trying to say.
My understanding is that Catherine was doing this as a courtesy to us. I didn't realize, I thought Catherine was just courteously presenting what the new proposal is without our making a resolution. In any case, Jason is right. This happens more often than not, where LPC would provisionally accept something, but have the applicant go back and make revisions. Rarely does the LPC reject an application out of hand, go back to the drawing board. as they did with a mansion that was being proposed for opposite you on Hollister, and they started again. But as long as you're here, Catherine, why not just show us the new presentation? I appreciate your being here. Can we look at it now?
Sure. Do you want me to go through the whole thing or just go through the changes?
The changes.
Okay. Okay.
Is anyone else having trouble hearing Bruce?
No, I can hear him now, Jason. He's,
Okay.
how do
I'm
you-
having trouble as well. I have a compliment. You come to me, please, on the canopy.
who's that speaking?
Mark.
Oh, thank you, Jason.
Okay, someone needs to give me control of the presentation.
Good morning.
Catherine, give me one moment. I'll be passing them over to you.
Okay, great.
Is this Jennifer?
Catherine, I passed the presentation rules to you whenever you're ready.
But I don't see the slides.
Oh, do you want me to present the?
You have the
Okay.
presentation, and I just wanted you to give me control of them.
Okay, so.
And if you can't give me control of them, I'll just tell you to go to the next slide.
We can do that. Okay.
Okay, so let's scroll down and let's pass all through all of this. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Oh, go to the next one. Here, go to the next one. Okay, so with the canopy, what I had done was what we talked about at the meeting, which was to lower the canopy relative to the line of the double hung windows. But what I've thought about since then was also reducing the scale from it being 8 inches thick to it being 6 inches thick. So I was thinking about changing the 8-inch wide section flange to a 6-inch C-channel instead. So it will be thinner as well. I'm going to investigate with Landmarks about whether they want it sloping or not. One concern I have about it being sloping is they want it to be narrower. And I'm a little uncomfortable with the sloping canopy dumping rain into the middle of the sidewalk. It's already sloping slightly. So it's already going to dump rain into the sidewalk, but it won't be coming off at a fast pace. And if it's sloping downward in any kind of dramatic way, usually the canopies that slope down go all the way to the edge of the sidewalk. So they're shedding rain onto the street. And if this slopes down, it's going to be sloping down and it gets narrower than what it's currently shown here. It's going to be dropping rain right in the middle of the sidewalk. But this is where it's currently at. It's going to get thinner. Keep going forward. 2 more slides forward. 1 more. Okay, here, back one. Here you can see that now the 3 styles of the doors are equal and the glass is more vertical, which is more similar in proportion both to the vertical dimension of the glass in the glass over the doorway of the garage and the glass in the doorways of the transparent doors adjacent to it. So it's actually just more in character with the kind of vertical proportioning of everything, and it reduces the glass on the edges of the doors, and they thought it was better. It also shows that it is now aligned, which I think is better, that the edge of the glass is aligned with the mullion overhead, so it registers better with the transom. Can you go ahead? Go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead and go to the last slide. So here you can see with the canopy lowered that it is kind of a more intimate scale with the doorway and with the glass narrower on the facade, that it's more in similar proportion to the windows on the facade on the far right. And with the windows that are up on the top portion of the, on the third floor. So those are the changes that I made between seeing you and a second meeting with LPC. And they approved the doors on Late. They approved the transparent door on Collister, and they sent me back because they wanted to have a smaller scale canopy. I mean, they said there was something wrong with the scale of the canopy. So that's where I'm at. So I'm to revise the canopy still.
Yes.
Is it possible to show us the original canopy proposal, or is that too complicated now here with various people controlling the slides and so on?
I don't know how to do that.
Okay, it's okay.
The only way I would know how to do that is if Jennifer has the previous presentation and can load it.
Yeah. So will you describe again the changes in this
well,
in this particular
so the canopy
application?
The canopy is lower here. It used to be higher up.
Yeah.
It used to be about a foot higher up on the wall.
Uh-huh.
And the glass is more vertical in the door. So the glass is narrower and more vertical and aligns with the transom overhead in the bottom image. So those are the changes. But Landmark still didn't approve the canopy. They still thought it was too big. So I'm meeting with them again tomorrow. I've already investigated possibly making the canopy thinner. And
by too big, do you mean projecting out in
that's the only thing I can think of, because they said it
north to south.
I can only think that they must mean sticking out too much, because at the same time they were very clear that they didn't think there should be more hardware on the facade. So they liked the idea that I was reusing the ties that are already there. And I can't, you can't really reuse the ties any other way, because it would look really strange to pull them into the middle. So I'm assuming that they must have meant projecting out too far. And I thought also maybe they meant in scale, maybe they meant the dimension of the thickness of it, because it's thicker than it needs to be. So that was the other thing I thought.
Is Mark on? Mark, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here, Bruce.
Okay. Mark had some questions or issues. He wasn't at that meeting, but I guess he's not on this one either.
He is on.
Okay.
He is on.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Mark, you had just, I mean, we can't really do a resolution on this because process-wise it's irrelevant now. But you had some comments as regarded this canopy, I know, on Collister. Did you want to speak to it now?
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. And I think you were also familiar with the with that street. And unfortunately, I would ask maybe if your folks are on the computer to Google map it, because directly across the street, unless you have a photo, the applicant has a photo, there's a canopy directly across the street from here.
It's
a very
on the diagonal. It's on the diagonal, so they're diagonally opposite each other.
Mark,
please let me finish. Thank you.
Very hard to hear.
Sorry.
Let Mark finish, and then we can have a dialogue. Go ahead.
So it's directly across the street, maybe a little bit off, but this is a very, very thin street. It's an alleyway that's only 2 blocks long. And that's the only canopy on the street is the one that's directly across from there. I don't know if there was even ever a canopy here prior to this, so I don't know if we're setting a precedent or not either. So from a Landmark's point of view, I would want to reject it just based that it was never one there before. And I don't know if we're going to do a resolution. I think you mentioned it's almost a fait accompli, but it's going to cause a dangerous situation because the trucks use this street all the time, and you noted that last time, Bruce. And this even causes the street to be even more narrow because you have competing canopies facing each other. and it's going to cause a dangerous situation for a truck to maneuver in between both of these canopies, and the truck heights are higher than the canopies, the box trucks and those kind of things. I'm not talking about 18 wheelers, although some of them have made attempts to go down the street, believe it or not. So I don't know if we can refer this specific item to quality of life this month as a issue, so at least we can get a resolution on the review of it from a DOT perspective or something like that, because they might not be aware unless it's like complaint driven. From a landmark perspective, they're just looking at it landmark wise. But this is logistically going to cause a very, very dangerous situation on that street. And I don't know if we can bring Google Maps up to show how they're going to be competing against each other. How much space is really? I mean, that sidewalk is already ultra thin. I know we spoke about it because we need more lighting on there, and it's difficult to even put up a light because of a handicap, and so it's really a very much of a problem. I don't know if we can make honorable mention of it landmarks wise, but if we can refer it to another committee that can tackle specifically the real problem and issue and danger with having canopies facing each other for the most part.
Catherine, did you consider, I mean, that is a quality of life issue. It's not directly a landmarks issue, and we did reject the canopy last time, so we weighed in on it. But Catherine, did you look at, it's interesting when Mark had brought that up, he wasn't at the last meeting, but he had mentioned that. And, I've been in that building many times, and it is true that there's a very difficult passageway for pedestrians as it is, because trucks have no choice but to pull up onto the curb in order to navigate, at which point the car cannot get down the street anyway. But did you consider the height of a truck versus the height of the canopy?
Yes, trucks are 14 feet high, and we use the limit right in front of the door and used a limit of 14 feet clearance for the canopy.
Okay, so how high is the bottom of the canopy right now in revision from the sidewalk?
It's 14 feet.
And a truck is 14 feet?
It needs 14 feet of clearance.
Bruce, may I check? This is not a canopy. A canopy, according to building code, actually touches the sidewalk. So this is not considered a canopy.
So what should we call it?
Oh God, Catherine, help me. For a moment, I'm having a brain fart. It's not a canopy, it's an awning.
Maybe.
What?
It's probably more of an awning, but...
Oh, no, it's not an awning. It has a different name. The point is that a canopy touches, by building code, a canopy extends out of the building, and it has two elements that touch the sidewalk, and at that point it must be back 2 feet from the sidewalk for garbage. So this isn't a canopy.
So Catherine, what have you been calling it to landmarks and so on? What are you calling it?
Pardon me, what?
In terms of landmarks presentation, what have you been calling that device above the door?
I've been calling it a canopy, but
it's not.
So we can do that.
I guarantee
please, for colloquial reasons, we are going to stick to that word unless we have a precise different word, because that's how landmarks
are. I got it, Bruce. It's called a marquee. Anything that doesn't touch the sidewalk is called a marquee. If you touch the sidewalk, it's called a canopy, and a canopy belongs to DOB, and a marquee belongs to the Department of Transportation. So I guarantee you this. So it's a marquee if it doesn't touch the sidewalk.
Can I ask a question?
I appreciate that, but how is that germane to this conversation? I appreciate that.
The point is that it's not a canopy. A canopy touches the sidewalk, and it's
yes, you've made that point. And I don't mean to interrupt you, but what I'm asking you, how is it germane to this conversation? What is the function of calling it a marquee now for this purpose?
And
So-
a marquee does not qualify as a canopy.
Can I say something, Jason here? Jason
I
Friedman,
also,
Yes, please,
the other bald man on the committee. I want to say something that is germane to this. I hope it doesn't offend anybody. This application it's passed us, and this young
Right.
lady has come back by mistake, and my heart bleeds for you because I wouldn't want to do any more community board meetings than I had to do. And we're not going to resolve I can't agree to make a new resolution about this canopy. I don't think it's right. And Mark,
It's not a canopy, it's a marquee.
Well, it
whatever
doesn't
it
matter
is,
at this
whatever it
moment.
is.
Go on, Jason.
let me finish.
Yeah.
And Mark obviously has a bone to pick as a very close by neighbor. And my suggestion to Mark, respectfully, would be you spearhead your campaign against the canopy on the block with the full board, and we should not weigh in. Hold on. I just want to finish. I don't really talk a lot, I think. And so Mark, you can take that through. I'm not gonna like sign up for a resolution about quality of life or anything. This application has passed through us and it's gone. And I think that you don't owe us anything, Miss Applicant, to change this, but you should just listen to what everybody has to say. And I just wanted to say that. I think we should move on to the
Thank you.
next
I
application.
also made a
I agree,
mistake.
but-
Can I clarify something? I made a mistake. I looked it up again. The height of trucks allowable in New York State is 13'6", and that's why I set it at 14.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
Catherine,
Catherine, we
absolutely
appreciate.
sure. I'm sorry, Bruce.
Can I say something, Bruce? You're really cutting it close on 14 feet because that's a cobblestone street. Where the cobblestones are not so good.
It was
and the-
originally
You did-
higher.
you
I
did
dropped
make
it
a
because
point,
it was higher.
and I appreciate Catherine having come back to us to give us the courtesy of the change. I understand what LPC is saying. Clearly they've taken our advice into consideration. So has Catherine. We see what you're doing, and I appreciate it. I do think Mark has made his position clear. He unfortunately wasn't at the first meeting. We wrote a resolution, and Catherine, I appreciate your coming back, and I agree with Jason that we've dealt with this.
Can
I want to wish you good luck, unless someone else on the
Okay.
committee feels
Can I ask a
strongly
question,
that we
though?
have to continue this. I would like to move on.
Okay.
Bruce, what
Guys,
staff,
Dante, I
what
need your
staff
help.
is here on what
I
staff
need
is
to
running the
submit
meeting?
the application again. This makes me very uncomfortable and
Yeah.
shit, sorry.
What staff is running the meeting, Bruce?
I can't hear you, Mark.
What staff? CB staff is running the meeting. Who's here?
Jen.
Yeah.
Oh, Jen. So can you contact Pat to have this added to the agenda for quality of life, so at least we can tackle it from the other perspective that we need to?
Sure, I can do that.
All right, thank you.
But hey,
Thank you, Catherine, for
Catherine,
coming
you
back.
don't,
I hope you didn't wind up feeling like you're in the lion's den by doing us the service of just showing us your amendment. We appreciate your having come.
I was actually hoping to get feedback on whether
Mark,
it was
I
gonna
want to
work
move
for you
on
or not.
now. I insist that we move on. Jennifer, what is the next agenda item?
May I just say one thing before we move forward? It's Vicky Cameron.
Committee, do you mind if one, do you mind this addition, committee? Hey, no one's objecting. Go ahead.
So I just want to say, Catherine, without a doubt, knowing the building code, this is a marquee and not a canopy. A canopy touches the sidewalk and it has certain regulations, which
Okay.
means that a canopy must move back 2 feet from the sidewalk so the garbage truck doesn't get hit. If it's a marquee, which is what this is, because it's hanging from the building and not touching the sidewalk, it has its own regulations.
Okay, I will look at that. Okay, thank you for the advice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So, thank you, everybody. The the next item, agenda item, please.
Sure, the next agenda items is for Bogardus, I don't want to pronounce it wrong, Bogardus Plaza Statement of Support for PDC Approved Kiosk. This is coming from the Department of Transportation.
Okay. Do we have anyone on from the other committee joining us?
So far, I do not see. Nope.
Thank you, Jason, by the way.
Yes,
I appreciate
thank
your
you.
comment
I
a lot.
also wanted to say that young lady does not feel, she shouldn't feel obligated to go to Mark's agendaed meeting because there's no requirement for her to do that. And I feel bad for her a little bit because if she's going to go to that meeting and everyone's going to bust her chops about this thing, she should just do her due diligence on the.
I have to agree.
But
By coming back to us and showing her her modification, she's now entered the pit of community board distress. It's almost like why do us a favor?
Well, it's proper to invite them if they want to come. They can.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying like. You're totally right too, Mark. You're totally right too. I'm not saying you're not right.
We shouldn't be advising them. If you want, it would be great if they could come, just so we can hash it out. Maybe there are other ideas.
Okay.
Okay.
So now we're moving on to what is it? I'm sorry, I have to get the agenda up. Jennifer, read it again, please, and we won't go backwards.
Sure, it's for Bogardus Plaza, Statement of Support for PDC Approved Kiosk. So here with us tonight,
Okay.
we have Jennifer Ines, as well as Emily Waldenhoff. So whenever they're ready to speak.
Great, thank you,
Yes.
Jennifer. And hi, everyone. Good evening. I hope you all can hear me. I'm Jennifer Santinez, DOT's Manhattan Deputy Borough Commissioner, and I wanted to thank Community Board 1, Bruce, Jason, and all of the members of the Landmarks and Preservation Committee for having us on tonight. I'm joined by my colleagues, Emily Weidenhoff, DOT's Director of Public Space, Christina Yu, and Nicholas Petinati, who is our Deputy Director of Urban Design. We're here tonight to present on our standard plaza kiosk design for Bogardus Plaza, and we've brought this design to the Public Design Commission. We've received PDC approval, and we're slated to present our proposal to the Landmarks Preservation Commission for LPC approval in the coming weeks. Following tonight's presentation, my colleagues and I will be on to answer any questions that you may have, and we're hopeful that the board would offer a statement of support should that be the case. And so with that, I'm going to hand it off to Emily, who will be sharing her screen and running through our presentation.
Before we do, if in the event that we write a resolution, I just want to be clear that we are talking about the plaza that never gets completed between Reed and rather the beginning of what was Hudson Street and West Broadway at Reed and Chambers. Is that correct?
Yes, so that is the Bogardus Plaza location, and Emily will be able to talk through some of the specifics on that location through in our slides.
Before we go any further, the official designation was Bogardus Triangle. Is it now called Bogardus Plaza? The reason it was officially designated Triangle was because every other juncture, which is characteristic of Tribeca historically, is designated Triangle, whether it's Barnett Newman Triangle or the one on West Broadway and Varick and Franklin, whose name escapes me at the moment. But have you changed it to Bogardus Plaza?
So just to clarify, we are talking about the DOT public, pedestrian plaza for this kiosk location, but Nick or Emily may be able to add a little bit more color to your question about Triangle versus Plaza,
Okay.
during our presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Beautiful. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. Can folks both see my screen and hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Just very quickly to the plaza name. DOT's plazas are named based on either a kind of pre-designated name or based on the street that they're on. And so because Bogardus Garden had that name, the official name of the plaza is Bogardus Plaza. I also want to acknowledge that we're joined by Victoria Weil, Friends of Bogardus Plaza, our maintenance partner for this evening. So appreciate that she is able to join. There we go. We oversee 82 pedestrian plazas across the city, quite a few of which are in your district. A key part of our plaza program is our concession agreement that we have with our plaza partners. This allows for food kiosks, markets, things like that, which bring vitality and life and positive use to our public spaces. But also it's an incredibly important mechanism for the maintenance of our public spaces. And by allowing this kind of public RFP process for a food concession or other type of business in a plaza, all the revenue that's generated through that concession goes back into the maintenance of the space. And so having a permanent subconcession kiosk is an incredibly kind of important and kind of reliable stream of maintenance support for our partners. And it is really critical. We found over the past many years to create a standard kiosk that really fits into the streetscape of New York City. And having a standard really creates both a kind of reliable street furniture element, but also something that really streamlines the approval and review process for all of our maintenance partners, and really reduces the cost for our partners. Certainly based on location and need, we would always allow kind of a unique and different design should the partner be able to afford, but really having a standard is key. So what we're here present to you tonight is our standard design that has gone through PDC and will be going through LPC. I'm going to start with the kiosk design principles. I'll move quickly. If you have questions, we can come back to slides, and then I'll end showing you specifics about Bogardus Plaza itself. A few design parameters. We researched a lot of kiosks across the city, what was working in public space, and came up with a kind of standard design that met a lot of the kind of food service and retail requirements for a space. The finish of the interior of the plaza is raw and will allow for a retailer to come in. The kiosks are ADA accessible. We really worked to make sure that we could keep the cost down for our partners, and work to coordinate with our sister agencies, Department of Health, Department of Buildings. The real goal and kind of concept of the kiosk is that, our plazas are 360-degree spaces. People enter and walk past them and through them really at all directions. There are very few plazas with a backside, and so we really worked to design a kiosk that could be accessible, and certainly visually pleasing from all directions. And that was also kind of paired with our standard set of street furniture. So we actually worked with Billings Jackson, the designer, a member of the design team, on our street furniture toolkit. We wanted to make it feel part of that New York City family. We also saw
and who is that principal designer? Would you say the name again slowly?
Sure, it's Billings Jackson.
Billings Jackson, thank you.
Yes. We also saw, another really important piece of the kiosk is that when it was closed for business, we didn't just want it to be an empty box sitting there. We really saw it as an opportunity to create additional lighting, and think of the kiosk as a lantern at night to provide additional space and kind of public safety. So with that, this is our kiosk design. It's a stainless steel structure that has folding shutters. It has service entries on 3 sides. It really allows for flexibility for operators to, think about pickup or ordering windows and pickup windows allows for kind of the greatest flexibility. And then we really worked to use a material that was going to be very robust, something that was easy to replace, and also really work to standardize the sizes of the panels. So again, maintenance could be easy and affordable, and we could keep these things looking great well into the future. Here are just a couple of the technical design drawings. The kiosks are outfitted with and will receive power and water and sewer connections, so we don't have to deal with any noisy generators in the plazas. And again, here you see the shutters that open and close. Here we have the kind of evening view so that the kiosk can really act as a lantern and support the space when it's not in operation. Also flag that the stainless steel at the bottom has a texture to deter from graffiti. Here you can see some of those samples up close, still a little, still a picture, but you can see the upper cladding, the shutters with the perforations, and then the textured steel for the bottom panels of the kiosk.
Can you leave that for a second, please? Leave the last
Sure.
slide for a minute, please. Thank you.
Yep.
Hold on.
I think another idea that came with the textured bottom panel is that that's the panel that people might bump into, might get dung up a little bit. So, having that texture helps kind of, keep some of those dings kind of fade away in the background.
Thank you.
Like I said, the kiosk is ADA compliant, so both, the height of the shelves and the windows, as well as a ramp element that can be added on for someone who's actually operating or working the retail facility. Here you can see the shelves that actually get taken in, so nothing is sticking out of the kiosk when it's not in use. Here's a shot of the inside. Again, very kind of open and raw so that each individual business can come in and make it their own and outfit it for the way they need it. The lighting is included as part of the design. And here you see the framing of the roof includes the ability to add air conditioning and other types of cooking equipment should that be necessary. Another really important component is thinking about the signage and the branding. And so part of the kiosk design is kind of a set of guidelines about where signage can go, very set to be, mostly the kind of top panel that can be visible from far away, some kind of secondary graphics on that middle glass panel. We don't ever want it to cover more than 50% of that area to maintain transparency. And then lastly, a third subset of graphics. So you can kind of imagine, as I show you here, the brand, the menu, and maybe then some kind of additional graphics as necessary. This is a view of the side of the kiosk. Here are just a couple of other examples of what branding might look like. And so with that, let's go to the proposed location, Bogardus Plaza, which you probably know all very well on West Broadway. These are some photos of what is under active construction. We're hoping, we just had a call with our sister agency, the Department of Design and Construction, on an update today. They're hoping to finish the majority of the work by early November. Fingers crossed it goes well.
CDC
And they'll-
reported, if I may interrupt, at the last Quality of Life meeting, they said spring. So that was 2 weeks ago. This week they're saying November.
For a substantial completion, which means
What
that the
is their
majority.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, and I do want to hear the rest of it. But for the neighborhood, what has been happening at Bogart's Triangle over many, many years is at the point where most neighbors that I speak to wish nothing had been touched. It has been so delayed, and it is so disruptive, and it was quite pleasant before. Now it's a wreck. I do not, in its transformative state, it's been a wreck for a long time. It also has disrupted tremendously pre-existing businesses. For instance, the one that we can see here, directly southwest. That business is gone. King's Pharmacy Northwest has suffered because of this construction. I appreciate your wanting to add another source of revenue, but I would like to keep the local businesses that are losing revenue also in business. And I do not understand the discrepancy between DDC telling us 2 weeks ago that it would be finished in spring, and you are using the phrase substantial completion. I don't know how something is substantially or insubstantially completed when it comes to a plaza in a month. Okay, I've made my comments known, and let's continue.
Sure. No. Well, I just have to say.
Messenger.
Yeah. No. We appreciate your frustration. Construction is feels way too long and way too messy, and we hear you absolutely. Again, I can't speak for my colleagues who aren't present, but just to say that we are very hopeful that they can kind of complete the last remaining items and get the landscaping in before the cold weather hits.
Thank you, Emily. And by the way,
we shall
Emily,
see.
What division are you with? What agency or?
So we are with the Department of Transportation. My specific
DOT,
unit
okay.
is the public space unit. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Emily. Go ahead.
And so with that, looking at the plan of the plaza, again, here you see West Broadway, the kind of main north-south connection past the plaza. The location that we're proposing for the kiosk is really along this outer edge to kind of preserve the open and the calm area where you have the garden, you have the platform, and all the kind of additional planting and bench seating, really keeping the plaza towards the busier, more bustling and flexible area to the south, where we also have the subway stair and the elevator. And that is the end of my presentation, and so we welcome your questions and your comments.
Someone is here from the community group that has been helping with or spearheading Bogart's Triangle, and you've been with us before regarding a clock. Are you? Who is it, and are you here? I guess not. I thought Jennifer introduced someone from Friends of Bogart's Triangle, but am I mistaken?
Yes, Victoria Weil from Friends of Bogart's Garden is here. I don't believe she is a panelist. I believe she's an attendee, so I'm not sure if she can actually speak.
I would love to hear from her.
She's muted.
If that's possible, Jennifer.
Is it?
Jennifer, can we unmute her? Is it possible? Jennifer, are you with us? I don't know. I don't know, but I do know this platform has to be corrected between now and the next meeting. We've lost Jennifer, I guess. Okay.
Bruce, I'm here.
Oh, can we unmute Victoria from the Friends of Bogart's Triangle? Is it possible?
Yeah, I can unmute her. 1 second.
Okay.
Well, okay. She's unmuted.
Hey,
Soraya?
Hi.
Hi. I don't mean to hijack you, but you're from
No,
the
I'm
community,
here to
and
be
that
hijacked.
means something to me. And we've met before, and I just want your opinion of all of this, if you don't mind.
So first of all, I'm 100% with you. This has taken so much longer than I'd been told, than any of us anticipated. It's been extremely frustrating and painful, especially as the face of Bogardus Plaza. I feel like I've just been like misleading the community when I'm like, it'll be done 2 years ago. I mean, anyway, it's been really frustrating. So I hear you. It's a tricky area. I've been going to the meetings with the Department of Design and Construction that hire the contractor for 2 years now, monthly and now bi-weekly, bi-monthly. So anyway, so I'm with you. So I just wanted to make that clear that like, I feel your pain. I live right over the plaza. It is really frustrating, but we are getting there. And I don't know where you heard the spring thing, like that's super upsetting. We, on our call today, Emily, as she said, we are.
That was at the quality of life meeting of the community board when DDC went over all of their projects that we insisted that they go over, and that was last month.
So that has never been projected for, I mean, it's always been, it'll be August. Okay, whoops, it's going to be October. Okay, now it's going to be late October. It's never been projected that far in advance. And we're talking to, I think, the highest people up in this. So that's surprising. But as Emily said, the latest projections are like we're moving to the punch list, hopefully substantial completion, which means all the major construction is done by early November. The plantings are supposed to be going in the first 2 weeks of November. And this kiosk, from our perspective, we've been talking to Billings Jackson. What will likely end up happening, I don't know if you know how these things work in general, but generally a subconcessionaire is the person who designs and builds the kiosks for DOT. This has not happened yet, that there's been a standard kiosk. And because we are landmarked and because PDC approved this design, it would make a lot more sense for us and for future subconcessionaires if there was just a box that was there that could be customized. So we really like the idea, because otherwise there are all sorts of rules and regulations about taking it off the plaza for a period of time each year. This just makes sense to us. So we would like this to happen. We've talked to, on my board, we've reached out, we've started to write an RFP, and one of our criteria is that we're going to weight local businesses more, that'll be a plus for people who apply. It's a public process, as you know. And we've just reached out to 5 local businesses just to take their temperature. Is this something that interests you? Is this something that you'd run away from? And I'd say 4 out of the 5 were interested. They want to know when the RFP is released. And so that was good to hear, especially now in this weird pandemic time. A small space that is based sort of outside is appealing to people. So that's where we are. You should also know that one of the owners of King's Pharmacy is on our board. So
Is it Jones?
It's Alan Solman.
All right, Alan is his partner, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
that's encouraging.
yeah. So, I mean, I've always tried to keep the people who are closest physically to the plaza as involved as possible, just because it impacts our neighbors at 1 Hudson, at 16 Hudson. I'm at 90 West Broadway.
Yes.
I have a relationship with.
And it radiates outward. The impact radiates outward. It's not just that cloister. It's a very busy intersection.
Yeah, and it causes traffic and noise, absolutely. And may it end soon. But anyway, that is our perspective. And
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry, I can talk a long time about this. I get sort of passionate about it.
I'm going to open it up to the committee. I hope I haven't dominated the time too much. I have other comments, but I would like, perhaps the committee has questions for the DOT or for Victoria, or comments on the design. Shall we go around the virtual table? Susan, I see you.
I don't have anything at the moment. I was listening and I'm just still thinking. I mean, I know
Okay.
the plaza, I know where it is, the triangle, and it's not offensive, so
Yeah.
there I am.
Thank you. I'm looking for some reason, again, I cannot get visuals of the full committee. Is Vera on? I'm just calling out names.
Hey,
Vera,
Bruce,
are
I'm
you
here.
here?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have any comments?
Not particularly. It is what it is.
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry.
That's where I'm at with it. I'm resigned to it.
That's correct.
Liz?
Yes, Bruce, I'm going to just echo the sentiment. I really don't have any questions or comments.
Chow? Do you have any remarks?
No, I agree with what was said earlier.
Or Mark? I'm sorry, I can't. I'm having trouble hearing.
It's okay.
Chow, say something?
Should I go or wait?
No, I said earlier that I agree with what was said earlier.
Okay. Mark?
Okay. Just reiterate for me or remark. The kiosk is now going to be a permanent structure. Is that right?
Yes.
Can someone from the
So if I remember way back when this was a temporary thing or something like that, that I thought there was not going to be any permanent structures on the triangle. I kind of remember something about that.
You're right, Mark. I think it's about the subfloor, like what lies below it. So it will sit on top of the plaza. So it can be removed in theory, because there's not, it does sit on top. There are connections underneath. There's a sort of a little vault that has the connection for electric and water and waste, but it's not built in. It kind of lands on top, and I think that's the difference.
So there's actually a sewage or water lines underneath.
Yes, there will be.
So that's really, if that's the case, as opposed to just having a box set up with electric lines running through and an air conditioner, this is I think this is opposed to what we were told. I mean, this is of course all supposed to be temporary, but I'll get into that one again. So I have an issue with the permanence. I mean, anything could be removed, but the permanence of the kiosk, the way it's being built. That's not what we were told initially. Again.
Vicky, thank you, Mark, and thanks for that recollection. Vicky, are you still there? I see your.
I am.
Results.
No comment at the moment. Thank you.
Oh, I didn't hear what she said, but
Jason. At the moment, I agree with Mark, but no comment at the moment. Thank you.
Okay. Jason?
I was wondering, what about like advertising for the kiosk? It looks spare of any sort of signage. Is there gonna be signage?
No, there was a very big signage presentation. Can we go back for Jason?
Oh, I'm sorry. All right. In that rendering though. Oh, okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. I'm okay with that. Makes me want a hot dog.
Did I miss anyone on the committee? It's hard for me to see. Christina is not on the committee, right? No. And Christina and Nicholas are not on the committee. Okay. Well,
that's correct.
I'm going to have to step in because everyone else is being reticent. I want to support the Friends of Bogardus because the Friends of Bogardus are residents, some of them longtime residents. I'm glad to hear that King's Pharmacy, which really struggled at the beginning of the shutdown, is on the board. I have very mixed feelings about this. One, because I always I always relate public works projects by the DDC in terms of the lifespan of students. And since this has started, we have had students in starting high school who are now in college, and it's still not done. The contractor, I spoke to some of the contractors recently, and they drew a complete blank as to when they'd be done. It was very compartmentalized. It was thrown into the same basic hopper as the reconstruction of Worth Street by DDC at the Quality of Life Committee. And famously, the contractor there told residents that at this point it's a license for the contractor to print money, unquote. And that's a direct quote. And I fear that that's what's happening here. And without the pleasant enjoyment of the community of this space, and it's getting embroidered and embroidered and embroidered, I don't feel I don't feel right about supporting this until I actually see something. To my eyes, the kiosk looks like a meteor set into this beautiful, perhaps overly ambitious plaza compared to what it was. And I don't like the 50% signage. And I'm really surprised that this new feature is being presented, since this little plaza has been worked over and worked over. We've had so many meetings at the community board level on it, always supportive. To me, this is out of left field, and I don't mean leftist. I mean left field as the expression. Let's say it's out of right field. It's from outer space. That's my immediate reaction. But I won't be unilateral about this. This is something that requires the board's, the committee's, assent and participation. I don't know how to parse this. I'm not against something generating the upkeep of the park. I don't particularly like the design. It surprises me compared to the formality of the present design. I don't like the signage, but I understand the concept in terms of budget shortfall and needing somewhere to generate revenue to keep the triangle, going. So I guess I'll have to leave it to the co-chair.
Sorry to interrupt, Bruce. I appreciate your thoughts there, and I just wanted to jump in a little bit on the process and the clarify a few things. So this whole a couple quick things. One, the kiosk is not going to be built by DDC. It's separate and apart from the DDC project. This is an effort by DOT to help support our plaza partners. It's also a new effort. So over the past few years, we were able to get funding to work with Billings-Jackson on this piece of street furniture. It's something that we've heard a need from a lot of our plaza partners over a decade of managing these spaces. So it may certainly feel new and different for the kind of conversations that we've had with the community board over the years, but that's because it is an evolving kind of new tool in our street furniture toolkit. So it's something that the infrastructure was planned and put in the plaza in terms of electrical connections, but this kiosk effort is new and also separate and apart from the DDC design project.
So if this was in the hopper evolving for a long time, and the community board has been involved with Bogardus Triangle for going on 10 years now, right back to when it was a viewing garden. We've been dealing with this for many, many years. In fact, decades. Why was it brought to us this late in the game?
It was always on. We talked about having a sub-concessionaire ages ago, and I don't think that was ever hidden. And if you have a sub-concessionaire, you'll have to have, like, no one can come and do anything and sell anything without power without water, right? Like, but what I do, it is important. I mean, in fact, Friends of Bogartis Garden, we're trying to finance purchasing this because I'm not sure that DOT has enough money. So if we don't do this, we're going to be asking whatever potential subconcessionaire is interested to design and build and install something, which will take longer. We'll have to go through various, be approved. So from our perspective, this is sort of the simplest, cleanest, most effective way to get funding to maintain the plaza as quickly as possible. And the design is
Okay.
and it matches, right? Like, is it the most, is it old feeling? No, it's modern, but it matches the bus stops. It matches the chairs, the benches that are around. So
Yeah.
like from our perspective, it works, and it could be, a vital source of funding for us. So there shouldn't, I get it. Everything has been really slow, and then it feels like there's this cold water thrown in your face where you're like, wait a second, there's a kiosk now?
Right.
So
Right.
I get that.
That's exactly right. Where is the clock that we spent agonizing months on?
The clock is being refurbished in Canada, and it's going to be installed. This is also not part of DDC. DOT is going to help us install it. We have a guy who's going to pick it up and bring it over, and DOT is going to help with the crane lifting it on, and we're just waiting for some final paperwork from DOT, and we're ready to go. It's been paid
And
for.
on this plan, the floor plan, which is up currently, where Varick is on the west and Chambers is on the south, where will the clock be in relationship to the kiosk? If the kiosk
It's on the southwest corner, almost the corner of the bulb. I don't know how to.
Where the two little arrows are facing Chambers up in the upper top left.
Is that right? We can send an image with where the clock is going to go, because the base just arrived. The base just arrived for it. It doesn't say.
This is my proposal, then. Thank you. And I wish, it's so hard for the board to participate this way. It's the nature of virtual meetings. I depend upon and rely upon the committee to actively participate, and they always do. And I unless and until, and I hope the committee does respond, my thoughts are, as I said, complex, but I have to boil it down, and I want Jason to please chime in. I understand the need for the kiosk, and I want the triangle to succeed if it ever gets completed. And I do not like the design, and I don't like the signage. So I would suggest that we affirm the concept of the kiosk, and the location is the only place that makes sense. Chambers Street is too heavily trafficked, and putting it anywhere inside the triangle would be crushing to the design. So this is essentially on West Broadway, which is, I keep saying Varick, I mean West Broadway, which is as benign as it can get. But I think the stainless steel is extremely, and I'm not saying it can't be stainless steel, but it's to me, it's out of context to the triangle, everything around it. It's an extremely defined landmark sub-district between the building on Reed and between Hudson and Varick, West Broadway, and the buildings on the east side. And so I wish the white box concept can be revised a little more artfully, and I think the 50% signage is over the top. If it's in a public park space, which this essentially is, and it's on that very traffic corner, I don't think the screaming signage, which also hasn't been, you haven't specified a typology or a system, also needs to be re-reviewed. While at the same time wanting to support you. That's all I can say.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you
now
hear?
I can.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to speak only as a distant relative of Bogardus himself, but I think Bruce is right. We should just not have these applications that trickle on with extra, appendices to them every so on many years. Are we writing a resolution for this? Because this is going to public hearing?
They're requesting a resolution in support of this concept. I don't know where it's going next.
So where's it
I'm
going,
happy to
Emily? Where is this going after this application? Are we here by law or just for kindness of your heart?
So we will be presenting this to the landmarks committee. I would look to my colleague Nick, who is our landmarks liaison, to confirm exactly what the role of the board is here.
Yeah, so we are planning to present this to the Landmarks Preservation Commission. We're currently working with staff to review this location as well as a couple other landmark areas, because this is a citywide prototype that has been approved by the Design Commission, and the agency's goal is to get approval for its use citywide. So we are here obviously to solicit the board's feedback ahead of that ultimate public hearing at the commission.
Go ahead and serve.
But you don't have a date for the hearing, is that correct?
We have not finalized what meeting date yet. We're still working on that.
I want to propose something. Bruce, can I just say something? I think if this is a citywide solution, then I think it's a simple resolution for us, which is we don't support a citywide, prototype thing to plop down in our very beautiful plaza. And that's where I stand on it. It's obviously then not being thought about on the ground. It's just some sort of thing that's being plopped in that can work for everything. And I don't think it works for everything.
I agree.
Thank you, Jason. I agree.
All right. So let's close.
I think it's odd for the Landmarks Committee of Committee Board 1, which is specific to downtown Manhattan, to support a kiosk that was designed to be contextualized with the bus stop across the street, and a kiosk that will be, I don't know, on the Upper West Side or in Astoria, all fine neighborhoods, but not ours.
That's right.
So I propose that we support Friends of Bogardus Triangle, that we commend their effort to find a source of income, to maintain the park. We urge DDC and DOT to complete this rapidly. We can accede to a kiosk, but not this design.
Bruce, can I chime in on something?
Yes.
So you were around all as well when this first came up. I mean, there's like I said, it was originally temporary when we knew that it wasn't going to be. So there's a little bit of a history here of kind of last minute changes. And the funding issue is also a problem. It's supposed to be self-sustaining. I understand from the people who live across the street in the winter, often that it is not shoveled, and then it turns to ice. And anything in the resolution, if we can talk about the kiosk not being of a permanent nature, as was agreed to eons ago. So I'd like to see that in the resolution, please. Thank you.
Well, I can note that it had been presented to us in the past as a
Yes.
temporary feature.
Sounds good.
I don't want to call that out.
Yeah.
Honorable mention. That we rejected on that basis.
Yeah, honorable mention, so we're on the record. Thank you.
I also want to say to the committee, and I'm talking an awful lot, and I'm sorry, that this has been a mighty, mighty struggle for Victoria and Friends. It's amazing what they have accomplished so far on this little spit of land when other parks are being ravaged. By the way, Victoria, DDC said the money has been committed, for instance, for the completion of the reconstruction of Worth Street, but they couldn't even guarantee that the money exists to complete Bogardus Triangle under the current crunch. the budget crunch. So I'm just
strange to
mentioning.
me. So
I'm
that's
sorry?
that's so strange to me. It's not at all the messaging that I'm getting.
Yeah. So I just described a complicated resolution that we will write endorsing a kiosk and endorsing the Friends' desire to have a source of revenue to maintain Bogardus Triangle, but we have serious problems with the design, and we will note that originally it was going to be a temporary kiosk. I want to tell the board that the committee that it's DOT and LPC, which are allied in some respects in terms of the mayor's office. So I don't know how much suasion we have. Some of these deals are done deals, but nevertheless, we have our position. Emily, how long have you been with DOT?
I helped paint some of the crisscross patterns back when Bogardus Plaza was green and gray. So over a decade now.
Because I would like your contact from Jennifer after the meeting as regards. I also have just raised suspicions with DOT. Whoever we were connected with for years, working on the reconstruction of Worth Street, has disappeared, and the subsequent points people know nothing about went before. The discontinuity is so disturbing. I don't know if it's happening with Bogardus Triangle, but apparently not. But I would like your contact from Jennifer. Is that okay?
Sure, Bruce.
Okay
I'm happy. Bruce, I'll be able to, share the contacts of, my colleagues, but really the Manhattan Borough Commissioner's office. So that's Borough Commissioner Pinkar. I'm his deputy, Jennifer Santa-Ynez. We're happy to, relay the questions and work to answer whatever, outstanding issues the board will bring to us.
I will take that offline, but I would ask Jennifer to connect me with you just so we can pursue what you just said through the channels. Okay?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Great.
So committee, whoever's left, I've talked so much, probably everyone's gone to sleep. Do you agree with a resolution? The resolution would be that we are approving a kiosk. We appreciate the Friends of Bogardus wanting a source of revenue, and I will go into what we object to in terms of the current design, and I will add whereas regarding a footnote regarding the fact that we had been under the impression that this was temporary.
I think you can.
Jennifer,
I completely agree with the chair.
I do too.
Jennifer, can you go around the table with the vote? Jennifer?
Sure. If someone can call the vote, someone else second, please.
I'll second it.
Someone please.
I second it.
Okay.
Okay. Bruce?
Yes.
Okay. Jason?
Yes.
Mark? Mark?
Oh, sorry. I'm going to abstain.
Okay. Vicky?
Yes.
Susan?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Vera?
Yes.
And Chow?
Yes.
Okay. So the motion passes.
Okay.
Great.
Good. Thank you, everyone.
Bruce, members of the committee, thank you so much for having us on. Have a good
Appreciate
evening.
it. You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you. I know there's a budget budget on the agenda, but we did that 2 or 3 months ago. Jennifer.
Yeah, it's on the agenda again if the committee still wants to have a discussion. If since those 2-3 months ago, if there's any new items, any new ideas that may come up to add to the budget request.
Was our discussion item, were our items submitted?
Well, that's usually something for the chairs of each committee to do.
I'm sure we did it, but if we didn't, I remember what the items were in terms of staffing, in terms of enforcement, in
Right.
terms of the desire to have deeper, further surveys in terms of responding to our requests for additional district extensions and additional individual designations. Those were the things that I thought that had been brought forth. Does the committee want to further opine? Is there anything I'm missing, or I guess not? So, Jason, are you there?
I'm
Will you
here,
just knock
yes.
out those 4 items? I can go over them with you, and I'll write the resolution for Bogart's Triangle.
Yes, what do you want me to say one more time what you'd like me to do? I'll do it.
Yeah, I'll do it offline because the committee already voted.
Okay, all right, we'll take it offline.
Yeah. Do we have
Okay,
any
great.
more agenda items? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
Okay. I want to apologize for the communication difficulties, and I'm sorry that we didn't have as much committee participation as we could have in reality, or if I wasn't so audio impaired. But does anyone want to add anything that I've missed? Okay, then. I guess we'll say goodbye, right?
Yes, we'll say goodbye. We did
Bye.
We did all right.
Thank
Bye.
you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Have a good
Long live Kiosk.
Good night, all.